The early morning sun did little to warm the cold reality of Daniel's life. He sat on a low stool just outside their mud house, head buried in his palms. The crows cawed in the distance, and the bush behind the house rustled as though echoing his inner turmoil. At 27, Daniel felt twice his age. Life in the village of Umuok had taught him pain, not patience. Inside the house, the rattling cough of his mother stirred his guilt. Mama was fighting a battle her frail body was slowly losing. Tuberculosis, the village nurse had called it. Prayer and herbs, she had recommended. But neither had fed them or paid their debts. Daniel, Mama's voice called softly. He rushed in immediately. Yes, Mama, he asked, kneeling beside her mat. Her eyes were dim, but love still glowed in them. She reached out a trembling hand and placed it on his cheek. My son, I know you are tired. But God sees us. Let's keep praying. He will make a way. Daniel's heart clenched. Her voice, once strong like palm wine at dawn, was now barely above a whisper. Mama, he replied gently, God has eyes, yes. But maybe he's sleeping when it comes to us. She chuckled weakly. Don't say that, Naem, God's time is the best. But Daniel was done waiting for divine appointments. He rose and stepped outside again, biting down his frustration like stale Gary. Later that afternoon, at the village market, the heat was unforgiving. He was negotiating the price of some cassava peels, when he felt a presence behind him, something heavy yet silent. He turned and saw him, a tall man dressed in red and black wrappers, beads around his neck, and eyes too sharp for comfort. Daniel, the man said, his voice like thunder wrapped in silk. How do you know my name? Daniel asked, instantly cautious. The man leaned closer, his breath cold despite the heat. Do you want to change your life? Come to the 7th Market Shrine on the night of the red moon. Before Daniel could speak, the man vanished into the crowd like smoke in the wind. That night, Daniel sat on the floor of his room, staring at the oil lamp. The red moon was only 2 nights away. He didn't know who that man was, but something inside him stirred, something hungry, something dark. Mama, he asked later as he helped her to bed, do you believe some people succeed by spiritual means? She looked at him with narrowed eyes. Daniel, your father was a good man. He died with a clean name. Don't let hunger stain your own. He didn't reply. Instead, he watched her fall asleep and sat beside her for hours, heart thudding like a drum in a masquerade. On the night of the red moon, Daniel waited until everyone was asleep. The moon hung low and red like a wound in the sky. He wore his father's old sandals, took a small bag, and slipped into the bush path leading to the 7th Market. The forest was alive with whispers. Owls hooted above. The trees seemed to lean closer. Finally, he arrived at a clearing lit by eerie, flickering torches. At the center stood a shrine, old, cracked, and covered in red cloth. And before it, a woman. She was blind. Her milky white eyes stared straight through him. A massive python wrapped itself around her neck like a shawl. You came, she said, her voice as ancient as the earth. The spirits saw your hunger. I want to be free, Daniel said, his voice shaking. She nodded slowly. Freedom is costly. Are you willing to pay the price? What is the price? He asked. A white goat. And a strand of hair from the one you love most, she replied. He hesitated. Just one strand. Yes. But know this, she moved closer, her face inches from his. You cannot gain without giving blood. Love must bleed for fortune to rise. Daniel said nothing. He only nodded. The next morning, as Mama slept, he sat beside her again. Her face was calm, at peace. He reached out and gently plucked a single grey strand from her head. She stirred, murmuring something about angels in her sleep. Guilt clawed at him, but he silenced it. It's just one hair, he whispered to himself. She won't even notice. He borrowed money from an old friend to buy the goat. The friend asked no questions, just gave a suspicious glance and walked away shaking his head. On the second red moon, he returned to the shrine. The priestess was waiting. He handed her the goat and the hare. She placed the hare in a small gourd and slit the goat's throat with a black dagger. The goat screamed. But it wasn't an animal's scream. It was deep, hoarse, almost human. The shrine trembled. The python hissed. Blood gushed onto the ground, and the fire flared, a dark green flame that danced like it knew secrets. Daniel stood frozen, heart in his throat. The priestess raised her hands and began chanting in a language older than language. Shadows moved around them. The forest howled. The air grew cold. That night, he dreamt. A white goat stood before him. But its eyes were human, his mother's eyes. It cried, a loud, mournful wail, and then it burst into flames. He woke up drenched in sweat, breathing hard. Then he heard it. Wailing. He rushed outside. His younger sister, Rita, was screaming, beating her chest and pointing toward the house. Mama! Mama! He didn't wait for an explanation. He sprinted back into the room. The mat was empty. His mother was gone. But on the bed, her wrapper was soaked in blood. Blood. And no body. Only the whisper of her last words seemed to remain in the air, God's time is the best. Daniel dropped to his knees, trembling, unable to speak. His soul knew the truth before his mind could accept it. She was gone. Vanished. And he had traded her, for what? The village of Umuok was no stranger to rumors. But this time, the whispers carried weight heavier than the morning dew. Daniel's mother vanished into thin air, one old woman murmured to another, her eyes darting. Witchcraft, said another, crossing herself. Or worse, sacrifice. Children were warned not to walk past Daniel's house alone. Women clutched their wrappers tighter when they passed him in the market. His friends avoided his eyes. Even Rita, his sister, barely spoke unless spoken to. But Daniel remained silent. Each day he wore a blank face, like a mask stitched with guilt. He fed his sister, sat at his mother's empty mat, and stared at the wall long after nightfall. He hadn't told anyone what he had done, what he had traded. That evening, he couldn't take it anymore. He returned to the 7th Market Shrine, his legs dragging like a condemned man's. The forest air felt heavier. The shadows longer. The priestess was already waiting, her blind eyes fixed on nothing, yet on him. You lied to me, Daniel began, voice trembling with rage. You said a goat and a hare. You didn't say her life. The python hissed from her neck, flicking its tongue. The priestess remained silent, then finally spoke. I said love must bleed. You chose the strand. The goat was only a tether. Her soul was the true price. Daniel's knees buckled. But why her? Why not me? You asked for freedom, she replied coldly. The spirits never take coin. They take blood. You wanted wealth. Now, they want their bride. Daniel burst into tears, falling to the ground. Please. Let me undo this. I didn't know. I didn't mean it. Give her back. There was a long pause. Then, for the first time, the priestess's voice softened. You may still save her, but only if you enter the market of spirits before the next red moon. Fail, and both of you are lost forever. He looked up slowly. What do I do? She turned and picked up a small calabash, sealing it with a waxed lid. Then she handed him a piece of red cloth, torn and stained with symbols only spirits would recognize. These are your only weapons. But beware, she leaned close, her blind eyes inches from his. Not all spirits forget. What's inside the calabash? He asked. Hope, she said. Or death. Depends on how you use it. Daniel swallowed hard. What must I do first? Drink from the river where shadows drink, she whispered. Then sleep beneath the tree by the crossroads. The spirits will come. They will test you. Daniel did as instructed. That night, under the haunting cries of bush babies, he knelt by the dark river. Its waters shimmered strangely, refusing to reflect the moon. He scooped a handful, hesitated, and drank. The world around him tilted. By the time he reached the tree, he was already dizzy. The moment he lay down, sleep yanked him under like a whirlpool. When he woke, the world had changed. Umuoak was not Umuoak. The houses stood where they should, but cracked, burned, and crooked. The trees were bare, branches pointing like accusing fingers. A thick smoke floated in the air, and everything was tinted in grey, as if drained of life. It was a mirror of his village, but twisted. "Where am I?" he whispered. "Between," said a voice. Daniel turned sharply. A boy stood a few feet away. Small. Thin. Wearing a white mask that covered his entire face. His voice echoed slightly, like it came from a hollow cave. "I'm here to guide you," the boy said. Daniel narrowed his eyes. "Who are you?" "I was like you. Once. Before the gods took everything." He turned and walked. Daniel followed, heart racing. They passed ghostly shadows that stood still like statues. Some cried without mouths. Others pointed as they walked by. "They know you," the boy said. "They smell her blood on you." "I want to bring her back," Daniel said. "I'll do anything." The boy stopped. "Anything?" Daniel hesitated. "Yes." "Then prepare to pay more." They arrived at the seventh market in the spirit realm. But it wasn't the same. This shrine was larger, surrounded by red candles that never burned out. The ground was cracked open like dry lips. Spirits, hooded, faceless, danced in circles. And at the center, she stood. Mama. Dressed in pure white. Her eyes closed. Her arms tied behind her. Her feet hovered inches above the ground. And a fire burned slowly beneath her, a sacrificial post waiting to finish its work. Daniel gasped. "Mama." She didn't respond. The masked boy held his hand. "If you run to her, they'll kill you both." Daniel's knees trembled. "How do I save her?" The boy pointed. "You must trade something greater than love, or fight the gods themselves." Before Daniel could ask what that meant, a loud cry echoed. The hooded spirits had stopped dancing. One had sensed him. It turned. Then another. Then another. The closest one stepped forward, and slowly removed its hood. Daniel froze. It was the man from the market, who introduced him in the first place. Odogwu. But his face, half-rotted, crawling with maggots. His eyes were sunken pits. His mouth twisted into a smile far too wide. "You shouldn't have come," Odogwu said. Daniel took a step back. You're one of them." "I am their voice," Odogwu hissed. "I brought you to the gate. You chose to open it." The other spirits began to chant. "Daniel. Daniel," their voices were cold, like the wind through bones. He looked down at his hands, and gasped. They were turning to smoke, and bringing maggots. "No, no," he screamed. The masked boy pulled him back. "They are pulling your soul. You must choose now." Daniel's scream echoed through the spirit world. But the chanting continued. "Daniel. Daniel," and his body began to fade into smoke. He was about to lose both his mother and himself. Daniel ran. Through the haunted stalls of the market of spirits, he sprinted, dodging hands made of mist and voices that screamed his name. His feet barely touched the cracked ground as he shouted, "Mama! Mama!" The smoke grew thicker. The air sizzled with magic. The hooded spirits chased behind him, their feet never moving, yet always closer. He reached the flaming post. The fire had grown hungry, licking at the base, reaching for her white gown. Her body hovered above it, motionless, her eyes still closed. "Mama," he cried, reaching for her. A sharp wind knocked him back. From the smoke, the masked boy reappeared, calm as ever. "You're almost too late," the boy said. "Help me." Daniel begged. "How do I stop it?" The boy tilted his head. "Trade your life. Or awaken the goat's memory." "What?" Daniel blinked. "What does that mean?" Then he remembered. The calabash. He fumbled for it, heart pounding. His fingers touched the waxed lid. Without hesitation, he raised it high and smashed it on the cracked earth. The calabash shattered. From the shards, smoke rose. It twisted. It curled. It formed the shape of a goat, but not fully. As the smoke settled, he saw something more horrible and holy than anything he'd ever known. It was her. Part woman, part goat. Horns curled from her head, but her face, his mother's face, was still there. Tear-streaked. Weak. Beautiful. She moaned. You betrayed me, for riches you never even saw. Daniel dropped to his knees. I didn't know. I didn't mean it. Mama, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Her hooves stepped toward him, trembling. I cooked for you. I prayed for you, and you traded me like a coin. No, he cried, sobbing. I was foolish. I was desperate. From behind the smoke, the priestess appeared. Her python slithered across the dead market soil. She looked at him, unmoved. A son's guilt is powerful. But guilt alone is not sacrifice. Daniel wiped his face, trembling. Then take everything. I don't want riches. I don't want anything. Just bring her back. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the red cloth, the soul token. He held it out to the priestess with both hands. Take it. Please. She took it. The cloth fluttered once, then burst into flame. But nothing changed. No, he whispered. Guilt is a key, she said, but keys alone do not open spirit doors. Then she extended her hand. A spiritual dagger appeared in her palm, glowing faintly with blue fire. Daniel took it. His hands shook. What now? He asked, voice almost gone. Blood. Pure. Willing. Undiluted by fear, she said. He raised the dagger. His mother let out a faint cry. No, Daniel, don't. But he looked at her, really looked, and saw the pain he caused. The love she still had, buried beneath the betrayal. I will pay, he whispered. He sliced across his palm. Blood fell. Drop by drop, it landed on the fire beneath her. And the market screamed. Spirits shrieked and vanished like dry leaves in a whirlwind. The flames exploded into white light. Odogwu, who had been approaching from the shadows, burst into flames. No. Odogwu screamed, his rotting flesh curling in on itself as fire consumed him. The priestess vanished. The masked boy nodded once, then disappeared into thin air. And Mama fell. Straight into Daniel's arms. She was whole. Alive. Weak, but human. Mama, he wept. Her eyes fluttered open, back to reality. You came, they embraced, the smoke swirling around them, lifting like fog under morning sun. And then, they woke up. Both of them. At the edge of the forest. Just as the first rays of dawn kissed the sky. Mama. Daniel shouted, hugging her tightly. She was warm. Breathing. Real. For a moment, everything was perfect. But then. They walked back to the village. As they entered Umuoke, people passed by them and didn't blink. No one gasped. No one ran to Mama. Daniel stopped a woman carrying firewood. Joanna. Do you remember my mother? She looked puzzled. Your mother? Daniel, your mother died, months ago. He turned to another. Richard. Look at her, this is my mother. Richard squinted. Are you okay, Daniel? That's just an old woman. Do you need help? One by one, they denied her. Some stared blankly. Others didn't even see her. Rita, his sister, passed right by her without a word. Mama, what is happening? Daniel asked. She said nothing. Then he turned and saw it. Her body. It shimmered faintly in the sunlight. Translucent. Mama, he whispered. She touched his face. You saved me, but the market still demands memory. No, he took a step back. No. I will live, but not as your mother," she said softly. "Stop. Don't say that. I will forget you, forever." Her hands pulled away from his. Her eyes, no longer familiar, looked past him. She turned, and walked toward the rising sun. "Mama." He chased after her. But she faded with each step. Until there was only light. Daniel fell to his knees. Alone. And from where she disappeared laid a big pile of gold, enough wealth to last a lifetime. But in his heart, only ash remained. The price of blood was everything.